All right. Well, should we should talk about the elephant in the room or the console in the room? So this is a somewhat of a recent purchase for you or acquisition. What's the story? What were you working with before, and what got you to move into the?
So back, I think it was like 2009. I ended up 2009, 2010. I got the 5315 Neve,
Yep.
and love it. And it
That's
did a lot of great records.
16 input.
24 channel.
Okay.
It was great. It still is. It's got this great tone, super punchy, and I was just kind of in love with it, and I just was kind of getting to that point where I was being stupid again, and I wanted to upgrade. I wanted more channels or more features to it, bigger footprint for that, bit of a wow factor.
Sure.
Is unfortunately that is very, very real with clients.
No, it is a real wow though too.
Not that doesn't do it, but to me it just seemed like, all right, I want the console that I can never upgrade from again. In my opinion, I'm sure others would feel differently.
It's your forever console.
It's my forever console. It's a beast though, and it's 9 feet. So we had to take out a wall in order to get it in here. But once it was in, it's just a bit deeper and thicker. Everything that you run through it is just instantly kind of got that magic to it.
And was it in a pretty clean condition, or did you have to put a lot of tech work in?
Well, so I started the search, and Vintage King actually had it up online, and people just mentioned that to me. I'm just like, there's no way that I could, And the whole thing was like, there's no way it's really possible, but I'm just going to be stupid and just try to make it happen.
Sure.
And it was outside New Haven, and I had my tech friend, Nat Priest, go up there and just check it out.
Okay.
And he just reported back that it was just really good shape, super clean, wouldn't need that much work to it. And then I pulled the trigger.
Great. And it still have the modules in it, or?
It did not have the modules in it.
Okay.
They are newer ones. And the guy, he had a couple modules in there, and he was just kind of using it in his, barn studio setup. And it was still awesome. But obviously I need to get channels for it. And, I didn't do the vintage ones because I was hoping for something that was going to work instantly.
Got it.
And it was a significant amount of money just to get it in here and up functioning. So you add, 24 channels that need to all be restored. The price tag goes way up.
Sure.
And functionality was my bigger concern. They sound great, and you can do the A/B test between, vintage versus their remakes. But I was quite happy with just going totally new. I didn't want to do any off-brand, so they're the original brand.
So these are the modern production Neve models.
Yeah. And
are they 1073s or what's?
I did 1084s because there's just more EQ points and filters on the 1084s. And, what's another couple grand when you're doing it? It's just like
Yeah.
Well, that was the whole point. I'm just like, if I'm gonna do this, just might as well be really stupid with it.
Sure. And if we're using the house model, it's like, you might as well get the cabinets and the fixtures and everything
heated floors
exactly you want. Because, has it changed your workflow now? I mean, obviously you were working 24. This still has 24 inputs.
It's still 24 channels. It's got, if you go into it, it's more buses, and I really want it to work where I'm just routing stuff right on the board, because when I started it was an SSL. They have full routing capabilities on those. This 8, it's better than 4. It's double. Still be nice to have 16 or 24, but I just wanted to start committing way more with people spending less time with their budgets on the record making process, I just try to get everything to the point where it's just like in mixing, I'm volume changing and
Sure.
maybe some effects, but I didn't really want to keep struggling in the mix to try to find something. It's just like whenever I track it, it's like I'm going super heavy handed on it with EQ and compression and just trying to get it as close to done as possible.
And when you say bussing, are you, say if you're using two mics on a guitar cabinet or you're
I was
routing that on the board, sending in one channel to Pro Tools?
I was the classic, 150 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm tracking a guitar, it's going to have 6 mics on it. And I was tracking all of them. And I'm just like, my Pro Tools rig was getting to the point still.
Yeah.
It was super powerful, but it was just like 160 tracks. It was 160 tracks. And when you start trying to mix that, you're going to have to start, compromising things as far as plug-in power. So why not just sum them all down to 1 or 2 tracks?
And you get the sound. I mean, I know myself as a guitar player primarily, I love doing that. I like putting 2 mics on a cabinet, but I don't want 2 tracks in Pro Tools because
you got to decide.
You're going to do 2 or 3
kicking
parts.
the can down the road.
Right.
You don't know what you want, so you're just keeping them, and then you're going to, unless you're looking for a stereo image thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Real
That's a good right. But yeah, you want to get the sound and just commit to it. That's the sound you want. You've blended the mics. You're putting, maybe in that case you're putting 1 compressor on the bus.
2 mics, yeah.
So
and the great thing is with these consoles is when you're going through the groups, you're getting more transformers to it, and it even gets bigger.
Okay, because you're hitting more
right
in the art. Okay, and are you using primarily? I know it's different session to session, but would you say the majority is the EQ on the console, and do you have compressors on the console too?
There are. I ended up, getting to the 225445E. Let's see, 54. Sorry, brain fart. And I use those from time to time. I don't use them nearly as much. I'm starting to almost even compress certain things less and less lately. But I just want, there's 4 slots for it. I had to get 2 of them just for the look.
So are you going, so more traditional outboard things that people would think of, 1176, LA2As, distressors,
on the thing,
DBX.
But, I find at times it's just leaving it raw going in almost sounds better.
Okay. So letting
really
maybe
depends
the
on
transformers do their thing and not trying to...
It definitely does this thing where with all the transformers and the pre's and the compression all using the same thing, just going in, it sounds great as is. Sometimes the compression, to control a kick and shape it a bit, or, controlling bass, it's useful for some outboard stuff, but sometimes I feel like super unnecessary lately. But I'll go through my other phase where I just start putting a box on everything. But
right. Well, I think it seems like it's important to, if you do something the same every day, especially like you say, you're in here 90 days in a row, you're not going to be thinking as much. You're not going to be as engaged, where you kind of almost need to shake it up, right? Maybe say, today I'm going to do it completely different.
What does the 57 sound like on the kick drum? Because I can't. I change the setup pretty often with a crush mic, or it's like, what are we going to do on the snare? Just like, it's all going to mostly sound like the snare that's out there. Once you get the drums all tuned up and they sound great, and there's a great drummer in front of it, the mic choices are, small variances.
Mm-hmm.
So you might as well have a little fun and keep yourself entertained. And every once in a while you find somebody who's like, that I do not like. But every once in a while you find something that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it keeps it interesting.
But I'm sure you still have your go-to setups where, if you do need to set up a session quickly, or maybe you're tight on space because you've got a lot of people tracking in the room, you can kind of strip it down to a simpler like, I need X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about mixing these days? I know, stem mixing or stem mastering, that's kind of a popular thing or buzzword. Is that something now with, where people are actually want to come in and run stems through the board? Is that something that's
I get
happening?
that from time to time. I have gone completely in the box
Okay.
with so much being affected on the console that I don't like to go back and get it twice. It was a very specific project that would need it. I found with the old console, it just gets so slow with Neve on Neve that it feels getting stuff to really fit was tough. The Cigarettes After Sex record, we did mix on the console, and that's a certain thing that was just like, yes, I would mix something like that on the board still, but they were willing to spend the time to make sure we could be on a console and mix on a console where, everybody else is, 2-3 days later being like, you know what, you were right, the bass is too loud, bring it back to where you had it. And it's like, well, on a console you can't do that, but
Sure.
or you can, it's just you're probably not going to get it to sound exactly the same. Just with the recall would be pictures and writing it down.
So that's you're at the artist's discretion then. You're in the sake of time and budget.
Yeah, their discretion, but that's just usually where I'm at now.
In the thought process, I mean, if it's coming in, if it was recorded here, it's a great front.
Right, sometimes, when I'm getting projects that haven't tracked here, I'll run things through. But, some of the plugins are available are just, you know how to get what you want out of it. The room in which they recorded in has, a bigger difference than, or whoever recorded it. But
Okay, so that's a great overview of the console. Now, I know recently you got an actual authentic EMT reverb plate. What's the story with that?
well, I found it on Reverb.
Okay,
And the
reverb.com.
guy was down in Nashville, and I had it shipped up. It was just one of those last cherry on top that I just really, really wanted to have. And I've been doing a lot of things when I mixes, printing effects through pedals, or running things out to the room, or just trying to create something that's not the stock plugin sound.
Yeah.
Where it's like everyone's got these tools now available. So
Yeah,
what is my thing gonna do that's different than these other guys? And
Yeah, I see that you have kind of the candy store over there with a lot of the Earthquaker devices and
a lot of stuff. When you're a kid, you just start collecting guitar pedals. And
yeah.
there's some gems in there.
Yeah, so you're running all kinds of audio using in guitar pedals,
Yep.
running it out, printing it back in.
Yeah.
You're doing this while the band's tracking sometimes?
Sometimes I'll do things on certain boxes. I'll just, run out just to kind of create some, it's the same thing as what's going to be different today.
Right.
Just try something. And sometimes it's just a distortion on a drum mic or a delay or reverb, and just printing it in and see if it leads you anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the thought with the plate. Is just, I've worked on them before and they are great, but to have a nice Neve desk and have that along with it would be even sweeter.
Yeah.
And why not?
Well, there's
a little bit more in depth just to just try it out.
Is there any thoughts down the road to get the what is it, the 250, the sort of R2D2
I don't
step cousin of
that one I'm not necessarily as
not a fan of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not for me. I do what I want one, yes, but when it comes down to really spending the money on it, I probably wouldn't do it myself.
Yeah. So I know you're mentioning with mixing, you're working a lot in the box these days. Is that, how much would you attribute that to sort of the improvement in like plugins and the sounds that you can get there, and how much of it maybe is just, it's in the skills, it's in your ears and your hands, and maybe you can just get there quicker in the box than.
It's a bit of both.
Okay.
You want to. you want to get there as fast as you possibly can, and the some of the creative stuff that's available in there are, it's kind of endless now. There's so many plugins that are bad because you can spend a lot of your money on that. But
I say death by 1,000 cuts is the world of plugins.
Yeah. But some of the things that are there, just it's so much smoother than I would love to be on a SSL and mixing, but we're also talking back in that 1999 world. It's like it's not as reasonable for people that are trying to be mindful of budget and come out the other end. Mm-hmm. It's like I don't see it really affecting quality with going out, converting, then going back in. It makes less and less sense with the plugin sounding as good as they do now. Right.
Well, and back to what you said before, I mean, even if you had perfect recall and everything, I mean, depending on the day, depending on how the console's responding.
Yeah. Temperature, the wind, it just always felt with the SSLs, it was really hard to get the recall to be perfect. Like some tube gear was just, tube is a end of its life or something like that. On the mean vocal, it's like something wasn't right.
Yeah.
The engineer would look at you like, this doesn't sound like it. And it's all documented right, but I don't miss that. I don't ever want to really go back to that. Or at least the same thing with tape. It's like, show me a guy that loves working with tape is probably somebody that never really worked with tape back in the day. It's to me, it's just such a frustrating experience. It's just like, give me a half hour, I got to set this up.
Did you do a lot of sessions back in the early days at the cutting room? Was that mostly on tape or?
It was more transitioned over to Pro Tools at that point.
Okay.
It did happen more often back then, and I ended up buying a 24-track machine, and I had that here for a while, but I just kept running into this, client would ask to go to tape because, we got to go to tape. Mm-hmm. Well, why? I don't know. It's just, we got to go to tape.
Right.
Okay. All right, but we got to get a reel or two then. And then, these are like $350.
Yeah.
It's like, it's going to be, X times, that for however many songs you're going to do. And that would really change some people's minds. And, and then, you're working really hard to get this sound where once it comes back, it's not what you're hearing. It doesn't do something, pleasing or not. That's, for the person to decide. But, I would get these great drum sounds on input, and then I listen back to the tape. It's like, I got to this and this and this, and to get it to what I wanted, which is what you hear, right off the console. It took way more work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. It's like, all right, the clients can't afford it. We're not really using it that often. And I like my sounds better in digital. And they stay like that. They don't fade. Don't go away. You can't record over the wrong part of the song.
Right. You open it up 5 years later, 10 years later, it's
gonna be there.
It's all still there. Assuming you have those plug-in licenses.
You're not gonna have to stick it in an oven to get the sounds back if the tape is bad. And honestly, in some of the one of the tape manufacturers, the popular one, I just didn't like the formula compared to what I was used to with GP9. It was just this great sounding tape, and now it's just not exactly where I see a reason to do it.
Okay.
I still have my quarter-inch machine, and I still print to it, but for doing a big project, to have to limit yourself to 24 tracks, I'm trying to cut down, but I'm not ready for that much of a commitment. That's what I'm trying to say.
Got it. Yeah. So are there, in terms of plugins, are there specific ones that you really favor these days? Things you kind of...
Set tape plugins? Or
tape, yeah.
in general?
Just in general, but yeah, if there's things that you are missing that specific kind of tape sound or vibe, is there certain things that you reach for in that?
the Crane Song Phoenix is something I've used, God, for like a decade now, and the newer version of it is even better than before. Way more options, but it's one of those things that I just like. It's on mostly everything.
Yeah.
Or multiple times.
And you'll put that on
everything
early in the session, like before you even start mixing. You're just to get that on the tracks, or
yeah. But you get more and more of it as it seemingly goes along. And now with if a newer Pro Tools rig, it's just like it can just keep handling it. Yeah. I moved away from the HD TDM rig that I used to have, and I've got one of these new Pro Tools rigs, and it's just endless instances of this great plugin or whatever it is. It just kind of nonstop tape in a way without having to do the calibration, loading the tape, cutting the tape.
Yeah,
it's the last thing I would ever want to do again.
Well, yeah, as you said, I think the appeal to it is probably people that didn't have to slave over it and all those headaches.
Yeah, just hear the high end moving around. It's just, I just don't see the point of it. That's just my personal thing.
Yeah,
having experienced it enough to know I don't want to anymore.
Well, that's great. Well, again, we really appreciate your time. It's been a great hang. And
happy you came by.
It's a beautiful studio. Before we go, just is there anything, anything current going on that you want to promote or throw out there for everybody to check out?
I mean, we have mentioned the Sigs After Sex guys, and those guys are doing great, and hopefully coming out with another record soon. Things I'm working on now. Great artist John Gallagher, and going to be finishing that record in a bit, and there's so many others I feel like I'm probably forgetting, but
well, people can find out more on the website, which is
virtueandvicestudios.com.
Yep, and I'm sure you're on all the social media platforms and checking it in between takes. I hope.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Okay, this has been Studio Hang with Anthony Rocky Gallo at Virtue and Vice Studios. Please check out his website for more about his studio and what he does. Please like and subscribe this video, and you can always head over to redpandarecording.com to learn more about our studio and what we do. Till next time, this has been Studio Hang. Take care, guys.